7. Yeah, Clyde Drexler and the Rockets have plenty to smile about. After all, their superstar center, Akeem the Dream Olajuwon, is now healthy. And against the Celtics, he exploded for 33 points, hitting 15 of 20 shots.
Shoots it out of the field. Oh, yeah, he's feeling now. He's begging for the ball.
I feel great. Just knowing that I can move on the floor, I can do whatever I like on the floor without pain. So I'm excited about this season.
Olajuwon is taking the game over.
Next, Houston traveled to Dallas, where the Rockets received balanced scoring en route to an 8-point victory over the Mavericks.
Here he comes on the head-down dribble all the way to the hoop. Here goes Drexler again. This time it's good and a foul.
Charles Barkley and Matt Maloney keyed the win from downtown.
Barkley under the guns for three, and he hits it. Charles Barkley. Ellie leaves it for Maloney, and Matt Maloney has it stuck on automatic.
Karl Malone and the Utah Jazz invaded New York to take on John Starks and the Knicks. New York dominated early on, building a 17-point lead.
Oh, Starks!
Ah, but the mailman was delivering. Malone, who finished with 30 points, got Utah back into the game.
Great pass. And Stockton with a finish.
And Utah took a 1-point lead when Brian Russell scored with just 12 seconds left in the game.
Utah takes the lead.
Still, New York had a chance to win it. But when Allen Houston made just one of 2 free throws, the game went into overtime. After one extra period, it was still tied. But in the second overtime, Utah flexed their muscles and rolled to their 50th win of the year.
And now Russell for three. Brian Russell with another 3-point shot. The Utah Jazz will claim a road victory in double overtime. They beat the Knicks 124-119.
Now we go back into the action, this time in the Pacific Division, with the Lakers, who won 10 of their last 11 games. Shaquille O'Neal has the Los Angeles Lakers once again playing some great basketball. At home against the Suns, Shaq tore through the Phoenix defense, scoring 33 points and grabbing 22 rebounds. Shaq just couldn't be stopped.
Basket count foul. An incredible performance.
Next, George Karl brought his Pacific Division leading Seattle Sonics and their 5-game winning streak into L.A. The Lakers won it by 13 points, and in the process went to a season-high 28 games over 500.
Don't do it to him like that, Shaq.
2 nights later, Nick Van Exel, who's been enjoying his recent role off the bench, helped the Lakers to a 3-point win after they trailed by 14 points.
Oh, boy, that's impressive. Van Exel to Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of potential on the team. We have a lot of talent defensively as well. Everybody talks about the offense, but we have a lot of athletes, and we show that if we follow our game plan and execute and focus on it, we can do a lot of great things.
With their great play of late, the L.A. Lakers are now just 2 games behind the Seattle Sonics and Utah Jazz in the Western Conference playoff standings. The San Antonio Spurs are in the 4th spot, 4.5 games in back of the leaders, while the Phoenix Suns are in the 5th position. The Portland Trail Blazers are in 6th, followed by the Houston Rockets and Minnesota Timberwolves. The Sacramento Kings are in 9th and appear to be out of the Western Conference playoff picture. Time to log on to NBA.com for some news about some stars returning from injuries. Patrick Ewing, who had wrist surgery, is hopeful he'll return to the Knicks in time for the playoffs.
My goal is to definitely come back for the playoffs. I was hoping that I could come back during the season, but according to the doctors, that's not realistic.
Hopefully he can come back and be at the level that he was at, before he left. So that's what we're counting on right now.
Nets coach John Calipari had reason to smile. His team added 3 key players. Ronnie Cycli returned from a foot injury, while Keith Van Horn and Jason Williams made their comeback in a win over the Magic.
Kendall Gill, the pump fake around Outlaw, gives it up for the Jason Williams dunk.
Having guys back today is good for us. It's a big plus for us because we've been having guys injured all year, and this game will hopefully help us down the stretch, in our playoff chances.
Next, a star who's played for 15 seasons announced his plans to retire. Clyde Drexler will call it quits after the season to coach the school he attended from 1980 to 1983, the University of Houston.
And I'm extremely honored to take the challenge to be the head coach at the University of Houston. I think this is a unique opportunity. to try and follow in the footsteps of the wonderful coaches in the past.
Now, let's check out a pair of players who reached memorable milestones. Indiana's Mark Jackson passed Maurice Cheeks for 5th place in career assists, while Utah's Karl Malone moved into 5th place on the all-time scoring list. The mailman passed former Washington Bullets legend Alvin Hayes.
There it is. He's the 5th leading scorer in history of the NBA. Karl Malone now with 27,314 in his straight career.
And finally, the NBA announced its Player of the Week. Shaquille O'Neal, who was Player of the Month for January, won this week's honor. Shaq led the Lakers to a 3-1 record while averaging 28 points and 14 rebounds a game.
Now O'Neal muscling his way in. Shaq Daddy was the jam.
O'Neal hit 52% of his shots from the field.
Speed under the Shaq slam dunk. Basket counts. Points go into the hole by Shaq.
Now it's time for our viewer email. Alan Bablico from Caloocan City in the Philippines wants to know if Michael Jordan's ever worn a number other than 23 or 45. Michael's wore number 23 most of his NBA career, but he wore number 45 when he came out of retirement in 1995. But these aren't the only 2 numbers MJ's worn. He wore number 12 in a February 1990 game because his regular jersey was missing. Michael finished the game with 49 points. Coming up next, we'll take you into the action in the East, where MJ and the Bulls battle the Raptors in a thriller in Toronto. Then, you'll see why Rex Chapman was a real hotshot against the Sonics.
Chapman with a long 3. Yes!
Of the week, check out this nice crossover move by LA Laker point guard Nick Van Exel.
Van Exel. And it counts. Nick Van Exel, and even the Sacramento fans applauding that. That was something else.
Now we head back into the action in the Eastern Conference, starting with an Atlantic Division showdown between the Nets and the Wizards. In New Jersey, 2 teams fighting for the 8th and final playoff position went head-to-head. And Washington seemed to be in command as they built an 18-point lead in the 3rd quarter.
Weber cross court. Cheney. Open look. Oh, they are picking them apart.
But the hometown Nets battled back, led by the hot shooting of Kerry Kittles. New Jersey went on a 16-3 run, and they caught up with the Wizards as Sherman Douglas tied it up. Throughout the 4th quarter, this dramatic contest went back and forth, with neither team able to take control. In the final seconds, the Wizards had the ball and had a chance to win it, but the Nets came up with a big stop. But in the overtime, Chris Webber put Washington in front.
Weber makes his move. Layup is good and a foul.
The Nets would have one last chance to tie it, but they came up short.
For the Nets, another disheartening loss. This one is very damaging.
Now let's head back into the action in the Central Division with a look at one of the hottest teams in the league, the Charlotte Hornets.
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, the Hornets are on quite a roll. And Glenn Rice got them off to another strong start against the Jazz.
Rice keeps the Jazz up. He has 11.
Late in the first half, Charlotte went on a 26-8 run to break the game wide open.
Curry's got it. Cross court right side. Rice underneath. Vernon Maxwell scored a layup.
The Hornets cruised to a 26-point win, handing the Jazz their worst loss of the season and snapping Utah's 11-game winning streak. 2 nights later, Charlotte knocked off another one of the top teams from the West as they ran past the San Antonio Spurs.
Rice up the floor, and the Spurs now have a real problem.
It was the Hornets' 6th straight road win, tying a franchise record.
They have put together quite an impressive back-to-back in the NBA. They beat Utah on Wednesday. Tonight they come to San Antonio, and they give the Spurs only their 8th Alamo Dome loss of the season.
In Toronto, the fans were excited about seeing the NBA champs, and especially His Airness, Michael Jordan. And they would not be disappointed as MJ put on quite a show.
Michael, oh my, spectacular.
The Bulls had a 12-point lead with 6 minutes left, but the Raptors simply refused to fold and tied the game late in the 4th.
Can you believe these Raptors against the Bulls? Again!
Michael, who had 33 points, put the Bulls back on top.
Michael Jordan does it again.
But Toronto came right back, hitting another big shot.
Yes! John Christie, a two-pointer. The Raptors have tied it up again. Can you believe it?
But in classic Jordan style, Michael took the game into his own hands.
This guy is the legend in crunch time. Jordan buries the Raptors' hopes.
Now let's take a look at the Eastern Conference playoff picture. The Chicago Bulls, with the league's best record, are on top and have clinched a playoff spot. The Miami Heat, leaders of the Atlantic Division, are in second. The Pacers are in the number 3 spot. The Hornets, who've won 14 out of their last 15, are in 4th, followed by the Hawks. The Knicks are in 6th, just ahead of the Cavaliers. The Washington Wizards are clinging to the 8th and final playoff spot, followed closely by the Orlando Magic and New Jersey Nets. All right, it's time for Hot Shots, where we highlight one of the best performances of the week. Rex Chapman and the Suns hosted the Sonics in a key Pacific Division matchup. And right from the start, Rex had the touch from long range as he lit up Seattle.
Chapman pulling up with a 3, and Chapman looks like the Rex Chapman of old here tonight. Chapman running up and hitting one, and he's hitting everything. I mean, he is on fire tonight.
Anytime the Sonics gave him room, Rex took advantage as he burned them from deep.
Out to Chapman, another one on the way, and Rex Chapman is putting on a clinic. I mean, an absolute clinic. Robinson's the double team out to Chapman, a long 3. Boy, I tell you, this is something to see.
Yeah, the Suns sharpshooter had all the answers as he led his team down the stretch, hitting several clutch shots.
Chapman with another 3. Yes! Incredible shooting by Chapman.
I just play my game, play hard, and you know, that's the only way I know how to play. And as long as I do that, then I'm pretty happy with myself.
Yeah, Rex had a big hand in the Phoenix Suns' victory as he scorched the Sonics for 28 points, including 6 3-pointers.
You gotta love it to watch a rising star.
Hard to the base, pull back, tries to strike out. Bring an easy score. There you go. Leaves it off for Lamar. And a big one-hander for Lamar.
To Jackson, to Artest solo.
Action. Now, a close-up look at the exciting Atlanta Hawks-Detroit Pistons rivalry. In overtime. Last season, the two teams met in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And the series came down to a decisive Game 5.
Detroit needs Grant Hill right now, bigger than ever.
Doug Collins' Pistons came out flying in the first quarter, led by their superstar, Grant Hill. But Atlanta rallied behind Dikembe Mutombo, who dominated the paint. Down 10 points in the first half, Mutombo ignited the Hawks at both ends.
Battle for the rebound is won by Mutombo. Long outlet for Steve Smith. And Doug Collins wants a 20-second timeout.
In the final minute, Steve Smith delivered in the clutch.
Smith, long shot out of the corner! The best-of-5 series goes to the Atlanta Hawks.
I can't say enough about my players. They stepped up big. I mean, they made contributions. They rooted for one another. It was just great. It was a great series.
This week, the Hawks and Pistons had a rematch. And this time, Detroit had a new coach and some new players, like Jerry Stackhouse.
Flips it to an alley-oop, backdoor cutting, Jerry Stackhouse for the slam! Wow!
The Pistons' big men, led by center Brian Williams, came up big as they took an 11-point lead in the third quarter. And in the fourth, Detroit got a boost from an unlikely source.
Shot rejected by Don Reed. Tried to dunk it. Second time he's done it to him. Unbelievable! He got his dunks thrown away twice by Don Reed. Unreal!
The Pistons prevailed, keeping their playoff dreams alive.
By Mutombo and dunks!
I think we're playing our best basketball of the year right now. If we go out and win the games we're supposed to win and try our luck against the real good teams, I think we have a shot.
Now, we enter another basketball dimension and check out some of the week's best plays in the highlight zone. This week's zone's full of so many tasty treats, well, it'll make you flip. So call your friends as we dial up these buzzer beaters from a long distance.
But Christie, a long three-pointer, cans it.
Not impressed? Well, check out Martin Mercer.
Picked off by Mercer. He gets it away. Oh, yeah.
Still not convinced? Well, let's see if the Celtics' Dana Barros can get you excited.
Yes! Well, we got a Barros.